Hey, what's happening? I'm Ausar, also known as Greg Stanton. Thanks for joining me as I wait for my pilot to come, and he's out there doing his pre-flight checks, and I'm getting ready to get back to Chicagoland. I had a great weekend. I was in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, with Hapi Films, Hapi Talks, Felicia and Taki. Had a wonderful weekend at the One Africa Conference. Met some really great people and the individuals who were on the platform, the elders, even the newcomers into our community of the conscious community with such great information. Now, it's not information that changed you, it's the application of the information that we received. So I hope you had a great time, and those of you who weren't at the event, on Saturday night we had a gala. And to our surprise, the event at the event space we were at, the Charles Wright Museum, we had the opportunity to see the the two Akhenatons exhibit there at the Charles Wright Museum. And while we were there, we had a serendipitous opportunity. Brother Jabari and Brother Mfundishi agreed to take us through the tour, so I captured it on my iPhone and I dropped it in here on the YouTube channel, not putting it here for financial gain. I've made it available to both Mfundishi and to Brother Jabari, and also we'll make it available to Hapi Talks that they may find space to use it if they want to use it. So I have made them aware that I had recorded this. So why don't you take a moment today and look at this video that I'm attaching to this video. Again, I'm Ausar. I'm the facilitator for Oasis Spiritual Center for Divine Living. If you want to know more about who I am and what I do, feel free to go into the description and you can click on the website. And at the website, you'll find more about the spiritual community that I lead. And then you also can find out about my coaching practice. I am a strategic transformational life coach. If you want to know more about that, you can go to Solutions. That's SOULUTIONS for living.com. All right, so let's tune into this.
Golden calf.
A golden calf. So now if you read between the lines, my son would say, Dad, I did, there's nothing there. Okay, but if you read between the lines, it means that the people who say they were Hebrews were worshiping the black mother before they worshiped the father.
Yes.
So that never is brought out.
No.
That they were, all those so-called Hebrews were in traditional African religion worshiping Haru, the golden calf, before they adopted the worship of the Father. So I just wanted to just bring that out. You have to read between the lines, past the white space.
Well, yes, sir.
Please, folks, please don't use your flash. You may take pictures.
Yes, no flash.
Just no flash.
These are all replicas.
Thank you so much.
This time period, so that I want to put you all in the right time period. This is the third golden age of ancient Kemet. The third golden age, approximately about 3500 BC, 1350 BCE. So I want you to think, there is no Greece.
Right.
The Greeks haven't even got to Greece yet. There's people there called the Crustians, the Trustans, who are black people. Okay, and all those islands, you know.
Meaning Greece, black people.
Right. That used to be canals and uninhabitable. Black people actually drained the canals and made it irrigatable. Right. And the ancient Kemet, these were satellites from ancient Kemet and Cush. They actually brought the olive groves there. Olives were created by African people. In order for you to eat an olive, they have to pick it, and it have to be soaked in oil for a year before it can be harvested and be eaten. People don't know that. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The mother and child. So we got the date. So y'all understand. 1350. There is no Greece. There's no Rome. There is no Anglo-Saxons. In fact, if you ventured out to the north past the Hittites, you're subject to get eaten alive. Okay, that was it. The Romans were even scared to go to a certain place. Okay, so, and that's 500 years later. So I'm trying to put you the time period here. Okay?
But the people who were in that island of Greece, they were speaking the Greek language?
No, the Greek language hadn't been discovered
Doesn't
yet.
exist yet.
Didn't exist yet. They hadn't even gotten into that area. The Macedonians and the people from further north hadn't migrated all the way down yet.
Right.
And when they migrated down, they ran across a group of black people called the Etruscans,
Right.
who look like you, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so I just want you to understand.
That's right.
You know,
They were only melanated people at the time.
yeah. Well, no, I mean, there was other people, but I'm just trying to say the Mediterranean,
Right.
that area, all of those little islands there were satellites of ancient Cush and Kemet.
Right.
Watch this, even the Indus, it's called the Indus Cush Valley.
Yeah.
Why is the Cush in there? From the ancient Cushites from Ethiopia and Sudan.
And when did that area start to be called Greece?
Not until about after the Christians lived, maybe about 500, 600. Because if you look at the 600, yeah, BC.
Even Alexander is Alexander the Macedonian.
Yes.
We call him Alexander the Greek.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we call him the Greek. We don't call him.
Alexander is the son of Philip, king of Macedonia.
Yes.
And people don't understand it. They get their history all confused.
Yes.
Yes.
The Black Madonna, you see here, is an imitation here. Now, this is imitating Ausar and Aset. I mean, Ausar and Aset. And Haru. Okay.
Austin.
Do you realize the city of Paris
Yes.
is Par As, the first city capital in France is named after the Black Madonna. You know, so I just need y'all to understand. And the French were running around naked even during the time of Hannibal. And that's in the CE, the Common Era. So now these people who claim to be so esteemed, so cultured,
Powerful.
just learned from us yesterday.
Yes.
Okay, so we're trying to put things in the proper spatial perspective, that's all.
Yeah.
That's right.
If I might add something real quick about the temple.
Yeah,
The
go
temple of Par-Isis. Now, of course, this is Isis because it's during the Greek period. We didn't use the word Isis, right? But it's during the Greek period. But the thing that's so interesting is that temple was destroyed, and the person in charge of the Christian empire at the time decided to build a church over it. And so that church was not initially made towards Mary, right? So what happens is they call it what?
Isis.
No, they call the church Notre Dame, which means Our Lady. So then it is later the Bishop Djenden that goes to see these devout followers there, and he says, "Oh, they're extremely devout." He looks on the altar and he sees the sun disk and the cow horns.
Wow.
So he says, "This is not Mary." He has the statue destroyed. So even after they destroyed Par-Isis, they were still worshiping Ast or Aset, who they were then at that time calling Isis.
And you know the Pope, when he goes to Poland, he worships the Black Madonna.
That's right.
Yes.
And even early Europeans didn't want to worship the White Mary. They said there was no magic there. All the magic was with the Black Madonna.
Wow.
And so even places now, still in Europe, they only want the Black Madonna.
That's right. That's right.
Is there any similarities to the headpiece that
Oh, I
we
didn't
see?
really get to that one yet.
Oh, okay,
This
okay.
is unusual. One other quick thing. This is also unusual because this is really out of the time frame. This is 6th dynasty, and we're talking
The third golden age.
Yeah, we're talking about the
18th
18th dynasty. So this is this piece. Now they are replicas, right?
All replicas.
The original is in the Brooklyn Museum. He and I go and enjoy this piece all the time. Right? It's in our backyard. But so this piece is amazing because it's really two statues. If you look closely, you'll note that the king on the lap of his mother, this is his mother, is not a child there. This is an adult man in diminutive form on his mother's lap.
Wow.
And this man is the person that has ruled a nation for the longest in human history, even until today. He was on the throne for 90 years.
Wow.
Happy II.
He is one of the last kings of the so-called first golden age, sixth dynasty, so-called.
yes,
And
yes.
you notice you hear us say so-called dynasties.
Right.
Because in ancient Kemet, they didn't have no dynasty. This was done by Manetho in the 31st dynasty. When the Greeks came in, he went back and regrouped the history of Egypt so that the Ptolemies could understand their African history.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Since we're ruling over these black people, we need to know about them.
Yeah.
So he put them in family groupings. So a dynasty is not like a decade or a century. It could be 28 years, 100 years, 48 years. It's a family rule or the same ideology, because there's some people in the same dynasty that don't belong to the family, but they're keeping the same ideology.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But they don't even follow that.
Nope.
Because the 17th and 18th dynasty is the same. But we can prove that the 17th dynasty is black and come from the South, and they're trying to make a distinction. So they say, okay, we're going to stop Eamus, even though this is his grandma in the 17th dynasty. We're going to make this a new dynasty, 18th, because that's glorious.
That's right. That's right.
And so they're going to call that the new period. But see, we hip to them now.
Yeah.
They can't do that stuff to us no more. This question here, this is the blue crown called Kaprush. It's imitating an African hairstyle of the warriors who defeated the Hyksos. Came from Cush, the Magi and warriors coming. And so they wanted to honor these Africans. And so the king, every time he goes to war now, puts this crown on, and you'll see little circles on it, and Kemet, the Medu word for hair, is nappy. Now I know some of y'all say, comb that nappy hair, and y'all were ashamed. Be proud of your naps.
That's right.
Okay, so that was imitating. So this is supposed to be a small replica of Tutankhamun.
They say Amenhotep IV.
Oh, this one here? Oh, okay, so.
There's a question though.
But yeah, there's a
I
question.
wouldn't have put that name on that one either.
Again, it's a replica,
Yes.
so we don't know. But that's the compressed crown.
Right.
Let me ask a question. Sir,
Question here.
I know these ladies and gentlemen may know the answer to it, but I don't.
Oh, no. If you have a question, someone else ask it.
How do we, where are the books so that we can enjoy this information?
By Mfundishi's book.
Okay, we have several. I have a book that's even being used in 10 universities called Spiritual Warriors Are Healers. And I outline all of this. All this. But you know what, man? If you go to any library, you can find some of this information. Okay? They're not hiding this. It's like hidden in plain daylight. They know that we've been bamboozled. So even when we see something, sometimes, because of what you might have learned in religion or you learned in school, museums are trophy cases of white male domination. Do y'all hear me? I know you think you go to the museum and you're being educated. No, it's a trophy case. If you got the right mindset, yes, you can be educated, but you got to go in knowing that they stole our stuff.
Yes.
Now they're making us pay for it, and all these little tickets is wrong.
Yeah.
There's a book,
What's the name
Dr.
of your
book? Because the same-
Dr. Benjo Cannon, Black Man of the Nile and his family.
Yes, that's an excellent.
Black, okay.
Black Man
Of
of
the
the
Nile.
Nile and his family, Dr. Benjo Cannon.
Are there any books we should kind of stay away from? Any particular Egyptologists that we should steer clear of?
You know what I would say? Read as much as you can.
Read
Because
everybody. Everybody
yeah.
has a contribution.
Right.
And then as you get more knowledge, you'll be able to synthesize through it.
And a good description of the 4 ages, the 4 golden ages, is in my book that some of you purchased. 7 Little White Lies Conspiracies.
And if you have access to this woman here, Nswt Jefferies.
Oh!
I learned
Okay.
my hieroglyphics for him. I need to learn some more.
Okay. So she's been a curator at these museums that we talked
Yes.
about, So I want you to understand, when you walk into a museum, what they're saying to you is that you used to look like this, now you wear our clothes. You used to speak this language, now you speak our language. You used to have this culture, and culture is your medicine. Now you practicing our culture.
And I even go into a museum like the Metropolitan Museum that has 13 mummies, 13 Sahu. And in some ways, they're even saying, that may be your great-granddaddy, but we have him now. You don't have no control over where his body goes.
No sacredness.
We didn't even ask you about
I just want you to know. And they got to perpetuate the same lies they taught you in elementary school and high school, because it's a state-funded national museum who are getting funded. So they can't say something totally different. Akhenaten or Akhenaten. Now, a lot of people, like, he even came to me today, they've got some bad rap on him.
Yeah.
That's because people don't want you to know how genius this is. How many people have read the Psalms of Solomon in the book? Written by Akhenaten. Today you would call it plagiarism. Okay?
Somebody
All they
just
did
got
was
upset.
change one word. They took Akhenaten out and put God in, or Jesus, you know. But this is the writer.
Somebody just got upset in this group.
A
But
great-
I want you to know,
A great poet.
biblical scholars now actually are accepting this.
Yes. I taught a class where I show you the Psalms of Solomon,
Yes.
and then I show you the actual writings of Akhenaten,
Yeah.
and I say, okay, you examine it.
Right.
Let's look at this. You know, so I just want you to see.
Yeah.
A great poet, a great orator.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't think you understand how great he was. He's living in a time where Kemet is at its apex,
Yep.
its zenith,
Yep.
right? It's the richest nation in the world.
Yep.
The king is the most powerful king on the planet. And he convinces people to leave the temple of Amen and go out in the middle of the desert with him to build a new city.
Sound like Moses to me.
Ah, okay. So now, you got to have some charisma, you got to have a whole lot of things going on. And at this time, the Amen temple is the richest temple on the planet. And he convinces people to leave all of that and come out and start a new city in the middle of the desert.
Akhenaten.
The temple.
Akhenaten.
Right. So I just want you to know how dynamic he was.
Yeah.
There's several books on it where people think he was, the whole idea of the biblical Moses comes from this guy. Okay. There's a book called Moses and Monotheism. There's a couple of books just on Akhenaten, so you need to read him. His poetry, unbelievable. He used to have multitudes come to his palace every morning at sunrise, and he would read poems and throw out, trinkets and stuff, and the people were just multitudes. So you can see Martin Luther King in Washington D.C. He was like that 3,000 years ago.
How about his phenotype? They talk about his.
Right.
Anything you
He
want to say?
didn't have elephantitis. He was a brother with a big butt.
Okay.
Okay, so come on, we all know some brothers with a big butt. He had a long face and a big butt, kind of protruding belly, and he wanted to be done real. He brought in realism. If you look at all the other statues up until this point, if the king was 75 years old, his statue would look like he's 24 and been working out every day, ripped. Okay, so you pick the king always in perfection. Akhenaten said, no, I want you to depict me just the way I am. Okay. And so he brought in what they call realism,
Or we simply say, he's a man of truth.
Right. This is a fake. This is a fake of a fake. So this is a replica. But even the one that they say is real in Berlin is a fake. They busted him.
That's right.
There's a statue of his wife. He planted it in the dirt, then had told all the reporters to come. They just found something, and then he redug it up and made believe that he had found Nefertiti, the most beautiful black woman in the world who looked like a European. At Akhenaten, they found at the workshop a dozen other statues of Nefertiti that look African. She got lips, butt, and everything. But there's the one in Berlin, and believe it or not, I think they estimate about 10 million people a year come to the Berlin Museum just to see this.
Just to see that.
Just to see that thing.
Some people go into the museum, see it, and leave. They don't look at anything else. And the other thing is, one of the challenges, they'll tell you when you argue and say it's a fake. By the way, it's mostly European scholars that are saying it's a fake, not too African-centered scholars. There are lots of reasons why it doesn't fit, right? But the other reason why they try to say, well, it must be real, is because they have done carbon analysis on it. Here's the deal. It is believed that he used ancient pigments from a tomb on a stone. You cannot carbon date a stone. So you can carbon date the paint, you can't carbon date the statue. And so that is what they'll continue to say. When you hear it say, they can only carbon date paint. I got some old paint in my cellar right now. You know, so that's the kind of thing that they do.
Now this, I don't know why it's so small. This is Tutankhamun's grandmother, Akhenaten's mother, Queen T, who is from Nubia, ancient Cush. Okay, and she has a big afro, and her skin is chocolate brown. And the Europeans say, well, the Sahu, the mummy material made her dark. Okay. I guess the mummy material expanded her nose and thickened her lips too. Okay. But anyhow, so she's Tutankhamun's grandmother. Now, every picture of Tut, what you're going to see, he looks like a young African man. You can see him over there, every picture. But European Egyptologists are trying to say that Tut's artists, musicians, painters, sculptors who are the best in the world didn't know what Tut looked like. And obviously they misrepresented him because now he got the one that Hawass has in the back of his book looked like Boy George, a gay white boy. That's what they turned to. So they're trying to say that Africans didn't know what they looked like. We're going to show you. And so
We know.
As usual.
We know, as usual.
The God complex at work.
Right. So again, this is kind of a duplicate. That's the Aten. Now the worship of the Aten, you got to put it in its proper perspective, was already being used. It's the rays of the sun, Ra. And all he was really saying is that the rays of the sun gives life.
Yes.
And without those rays, there are no life.
That's right.
Now, some people were upset because he said get rid of all the rest of the statues. But the rest of the statues were just, what? They represent principles and laws.
Right.
You can't see the shoe, air, so they would put a body there and say that this represents, this is a symbolism of shoe. That's not God. You know, it's an aspect of the one. That's all, you know. So today, Brother James Small did an excellent job in talking about that various aspects. So that's all ancient Kemet. No gods and gods. All the Egyptology book, gods and goddesses, no.
Terrible description.
And watch this. They're going to have somebody, they're going to say Ramses the 12th. They got all the way up to Ramses the 13th. No two kings in 4,000 years of ancient Kemet got the same two names in the Shin identical. So there's no need to even have the second or the third. You see, they got Pope John Paul the 59th, like y'all ran out of names. Okay? And then they superimpose those values on ancient Kemet when Kemet didn't do that.
Even Haiti.
Yes.
We don't have no Henry first and Jack first. He's just Jack and it's just Henry.
Yes.
But all the historians give us a one and a, you know.
See, whoever
Even if
controls the
there's no
situation defines it.
Yes.
So they
Yes.
took out stuff, now they control it, so now we got Ramses the 13th.
And if I might add something about the Aten, some people think that Akhenaten brought the Aten to ancient Kemet. But it's interesting that his father, when he was courting his mother, this is his mother here.
Right.
The statue, we don't know why it's that small. That's in the Louvre, by the way, right? When he was courting her, he made her a lake. Now this is in the desert, okay?
Dredge the lake.
This ain't in Detroit. This is in the desert.
Named the boat.
And it's 1.5 miles long in the desert. And he built a yacht to impress her. It's called Aten Gleams. So obviously the Aten was already popular.
Yes.
So he sees this happening with his father
Right.
and mother and all that. And
That's
so,
right.
you know, so I just want you to know, it didn't just pop out of the blue.
No.
And from the beginning of time, Aten was still
That's
there.
right.
It was a local energy that represent, you know,
Yes.
something that existed. He just took it to another level, that's
Yes.
all.
Yes.
And this is one of his daughters. So his daughters,
In the Berlin Museum, Queen T has an enormous place. She's centered here, and then she's looking at Akhenaten. And then she's looking this way to deal with the Greeks. Instead of having that little statue, they have her giving life to this whole enormous exhibit.
Yeah.
So they want to, she's too powerful to be telling the real deal. about her and Amenhotep III,
Very.
her partner.
Very, very powerful. So powerful that even after her husband dies, when her son starts doing things that are a little different, people write her letters.
Yes.
To
She
say,
takes
can
up
you
the city."
speak to your son? She's been known to sign foreign treaties.
Yes.
So we're talking about a woman that was almost like the Secretary of State in some ways. Extremely powerful lady.
She is the great mother on the 4 rulers.
Yes.
So she lived through 4 different kings as the
Yes,
great mother.
yes,
So
yes,
they
yes.
don't need. They need to expand that. That little tiny one is not doing her
Yeah.
justice.
And the original is not large, but it's at least 2 or 3 times larger than
Should
that.
we use the term kings or
No,
pharaohs?
no. We just so that
I'm
make
just-
sure everybody understood. Yeah, what we're talking about.
Is there a better
Right. Even the
term?
word pharaoh wasn't used during this time.
No.
They were. Every king had 5 names. He was the great. He was Haru. He was. He had a Nebti name, meaning the master of the 2 ladies, the
Right.
protectors of the 2
Right.
ladies, the Nekabet and Wajet.
Yeah.
He had the golden Haru name.
Yeah.
And why a golden Haru? Because gold doesn't tarnish. And the mere fact we're talking about this 3,000 years later, it hasn't tarnished. They lied about it, but it hasn't tarnished, okay? Then he had only 2 names inside of a shin. A shin is that elliptical orbit, which Europeans call a cartouche. Cartouche is French for a cartridge bullet, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
So we need to stop that.
Right.
Yeah.
All
You
wearing
need to stop
cartouche
that.
when
You
we
know,
come
give
from
to the
Egypt.
French what the French, belong to the French. Don't give them
Right.
our stuff.
Right.
Okay.
They're right there. See the 2
These
ones
are-
right next to the
Yeah.
So
sun?
if y'all know
What's
what
the
a shin
name
is, those
in
ellipticals.
Kemi?
The Shen
So
is
the-
what it's called.
So the ruler's name goes in it, male and female.
That's right.
Yes, yes.
That's
Male
right.
and female.
That's right.
Okay, just like in Ghana, they don't have a separate title for the women and the men. If you're a nana,
You're Nana.
he's a nana,
Yeah.
and Mama Jeffries is a nana.
Right.
You know, I'm a nana.
And
Okay.
I'm a Nana.
Right. So male and female share that same, and
Yeah.
that's from.
And my wife is
ancient Kemet.
Nana. She's Nana as well. She's more powerful than I am.
Well, but why is it that most of the women are?
yeah.
This elongated head, Europeans try to say that this was an alien, that Akhenaten was this rule is the last rule. Huh?
Appreciator of the golden stool and of 3 different Ashantihinis. And so the idea of divine kingship system parallel moves right on into Ghana.
That's right.
And into this Nana Afua-Sam. And so all the groups that we took to Africa, we make sure they went to her, and she gave all of the people that we took to Africa, including Wade Noble, including Nana
Nzinga.
Nzinga too, but also Adelaide Sanford, the region of the state of New York, and they all got the rings, special rings.
They got
In fact,
one ring.
has
But
the
she
rings
knew
on
I
it.
was in trouble and needed support, so she gave me 5 rings.
Because the
How she
time-
understood that there was a storm around me, God only knows. But we went into her chamber and I came out with the 5 rings. I used to have my wedding ring, but somehow that fell off. But I got this protective African ring.
She don't believe it. She still got that look. That look didn't change.
But there's a fantastic story about our relationship and African relationship to kingship and all the rest. And we need to straighten that mess out.
Yes.
Not in any bitterness, but look, this is not correct.
That's right.
And so y'all ran the game of Moses and this and that and all that. Let's get at the truth as much as we can get at.
So again, what they're trying to also show you is that, like I witnessed just pre-pandemic, the crowning of a king. It was exactly the same it was done in ancient Kemet. Just a different language, and they slaughtered a ram. Ram is the symbolic of Amen. So I just want you to know, and Ghana got all these names start with Amen, and even the word Akan means spiritual people in the Medunetia.
Yep.
So we're trying to show you, Diop did a great job of showing you how in many languages in Africa still have the culture of ancient Kemet. But I wanted to talk about the head. You have these elongated heads. Akhenaten's children, he had 5 daughters, and all of them had this elongated head. In many African nations, that's considered beauty, number 1, wisdom, number 2, And they're not aliens.
No.
Not unless we the aliens, because we're the first people here, okay? But they don't want to give credit where credit is due.
Nope.
But this was a symbol of beauty. I know a lot of people say, oh, why a head like that? You know, but again, a symbol of African beauty, this along. Shaved head, elongated, and all of it. Even in some of the original pictures of Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, his head was long.
Yes.
Okay.
Is this a permanent exhibit or has it been borrowed?
These are replicas.
These are all replicas.
Okay,
These are all
replicas.
replicas.
They look good.
Again, this is just replica of a scribe and then a woman, is she washing clothes?
The
or
beer maker.
Making beer. Okay.
Yeah.
Most of the time, every time you see beer making everything, you'll see definitely black people.
Yes.
Yeah, making the beer and the wine.
Yes.
Okay.
And if I might add something really quickly here, the world's oldest book, the world's oldest complete book, written by an African. In fact, I should have showed you his image. I'm going to make sure they put it up the first thing tomorrow. Because you have to see the image of the world's oldest book, the man that wrote the world's oldest book. You can get the book anywhere. None of the books have his picture. His life-size, full-color statue is in a museum that probably is just Baba Mfundishi and I to go to the museum. When we go to the museum, it's 120 degrees outside, and they don't put the AC on all day, except when we come, because no one else goes. So, I want you, when you look at this woman, she's doing hard labor, hard work. This is a working class woman. And in the first book, the first maxim of 37 says, don't be arrogant with your wisdom. The greatest wisdom is found amongst the women who toil all day, he says, at the grindstone, because they're making bread. But this once again gives us the African sensibility that women are not maybe our equal, they may be our superior. And that is so important. It's the youngest people on the planet that got it twisted and got us confused.
Now, again, this is a replica. The real one would have been made out of marble.
Yeah.
Okay, you understand. And the materials are just as important. Y'all heard me talk about the mineral domain. They chose specific minerals. Like, for example, when you see Queen T's bust at the Metropolitan, it's yellow jasper. It takes your breath away when you see that yellow jasper, and it's polished, the lips is polished. You want to kiss it, okay?
It's beautiful.
All right? It's just beautiful, okay. When they depict men, they usually use red ochre.
That's right.
Or red jasper.
That's right.
And women, they use yellow. And it's not that they were in love with yellow bones, okay? So just let me let you know that, okay? Yellow represent the bright star, Sirius A. So the woman represents the brightness. The male is the dark, dense star that protects the woman's star. So I heard a curator say, well, the women are light and the guys are dark because he was out in the fields. I'm like,
the difference in complexion is impossible.
He was never in the fields.
It's impossible to get that difference in complexion.
And there's no race of people that have yellow girls and red boys.
No.
Okay, all right. So it's a symbolism. You need to understand what that symbolism is.
That's right. That's right.
When they sahu the body, you know it as mummification.
Right.
Mummy is an Arabic word that comes from mumia, black sap, a glue.
Right.
Has nothing to do with ancient Kemet.
Nope.
And we run it around talking about the mummy.
Right.
Again, that's what I'm talking about, symptomatic thought. You don't want your enemy defining stuff to you. So when we sahu the body, it took 70 days. They took all the organs out. They dried it out.
Without cutting the person.
Right. They took even the brain out, because you're not going to be using that anymore.
Body.
Okay.
Take the organs out.
And then they stuffed the body. They cleaned all the organs, the major organs, your lungs, your stomach, your kidney. The heart sometimes was replaced with a scarab. Y'all heard me talk about Kepra today, the dung beetle. They would put that because you're coming forth, you're coming into being, into a new existence. And then they honored this. Now somebody would say, well, Mfundishi, why would they go all that trouble to be taking these organs out? How many people have seen the judgment scene? Everybody here has seen the judgment scene where you go before the scales and the heart is being weighed and Jehuti is taking notes, right? And then Haru, watch this. If you pass that, because I'm a Met, the devourer's right there.
That's right.
So if your soul is not righteous, that's all
over.
right there.
It's
you
over.
don't go any further. But if you go further, Haru takes you to his Father
Yep.
who art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come.
Yeah.
That all comes from ancient Kemet.
Yeah.
And what does it say in the book? The only way to my Father is through the
Through
Son.
me.
It's through me, through the Son. So that's where they get that. That's all ancient Kemet.
Right.
Okay, so all right, that's what you to know. So now I want to say this here. After the heart has been weighed, you say, well, what is he going to do with the kid? I mean, your stomach, your intestines, and all of that. I ask you, have you done right? You say, yes, I have done righteous. I have done. Have you polluted the body? No, I have not polluted the body. Have you eaten right? I have not. Right? And now I look and your kidney is all shriveled up. Your lungs is black. No, you go to Amamet. You got past your Jhuty. But guess what? Your organs don't lie.
Yes.
So if you've been living a foul life and you just cleaned it up, like I read one time where King James said if you repent on your dying bed, I don't care if you was a murderer, you go to heaven.
That's right.
You could have been a cutthroat and murder your whole life and you just repent while you get ready to die and you go to heaven.
Yeah.
No, that's not the Kemet way.
No.
What goes around comes around. Come back and try this again. So I just want you to understand, So you say, why did they go through all this trouble? No. This, you can buy this stuff in the jewelry store, the gift shop. So this is replicas of some real stuff that was in ancient Kemet. So when you all went to my table and you saw the crystals and gemstones, look, you'll see the turquoise, carnelian.
Lapis.
This is carnelian.
Yeah.
The turquoise, right here. Lapis lazuli, right in the center.
Carnelian?
You see, carnelian, lapis lazuli, turquoise, all of them duplicated, and you'll see it because they understood the power in these stones. They didn't call this jewelry. That's late. That's European Jews.
Yep.
This is called Sa. S-A-A, spiritual protection.
Right.
So, S-A-A, Sa. So when they put it on, spiritual protection. You understood the vibration of the mineral, and you're letting that vibrate with you.
That's right.
Today, when people are into it, they call it New Age because the Europeans are just getting into it. So it's New Age for them.
That's right.
But it was already old
Oh my goodness.
during Tutankhamun, and I'm trying to get you to know this is 3,500 years ago.
Right.
And it was old. So, anything you want to add to that?
And, by the way, black onyx against the G5 waves.
I want you to just notice how popular you're going to see that beetle, right? The Kepper, right? The Kepper. You're going to see the beetle constantly. Part of it is because it's one of Tutankhamun's names, but the other thing is this: you wouldn't want to talk about the beetle today. He did amazing stuff.
Strongest creature in the world in proportion to its size. It can lift 1,150 times its weight.
And I would also add quickly, if you see, the beetle often has the sun. And I just want to say quickly, I could talk about this for an hour. Where are my shrine members? They know I've talked about it for an hour. But really quick, I just want to say, they're depicted as rolling the sun, but this is an animal that rolls a ball of doo-doo. I think that what our ancestors were trying to tell us is that your greatest transformation, Kepra is a symbol of transformation, your greatest transformation lies in those things that you are trying to stay away from, that you're trying to hide from. Your transformation is in dealing with your doo-doo. Yeah. Everybody smells it. You're the only one pretending it's behind you. Deal with it, and that's where your transformation will occur.
This is the Valley of the Kings. Yeah. Now, one of my favorite, Nswt Hotep, which my latest books is on Nswt Hotep. He is the one that created this. Okay, so remember in the latter part of the old period, first golden age, it was in Saqqara is where the step pyramids are and stuff like that. Nswt Hotep is the one that start building over here. And then the person also who built her tomb right next to his is Hatshepsut Aman.
That's the woman pharaoh?
Aman.
The woman pharaoh?
Yes, the woman.
Yeah.
Makara Hatshepsut?
Yes. So she built her temple right next, because that was her Djenden.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to understand. The Valley of the Kings, This is where Tutankhamun's tomb is.
Yeah.
But around the corner from Tutankhamun's tomb, there's a tomb dedicated to a person called Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is about a 20-year-old Magi warrior. He is the only person who's not a king buried in the Valley of the Kings. His mummy was so perfect, it looked like he was just asleep. The first place they saw the complete book of Coming Forth by Day, the 42 of Ma'at, is in Mahaprabhu's tomb. So here's this guy who's not a king, who's 19 years old. He got his shield and his garment and they sealed his tomb back up so you can't go in it. So there's some stuff, going on with that.
I wish that was unusual.
Okay. The inside of that thing here, you would see 4 jars like this. They are Mesu Haru. They say Kanopta jars. That's incorrect. Mesu Haru, the sons of Haru.
Right. Canopus is a Greek god. And supposedly he becomes a jar,
right?
so that's why they start calling them canopic jars. But
After they check it, then they put it
when the
there.
Greeks come, they
cleaned
change,
it, oiled it.
they change all sorts of things.
And they actually wrapped it too.
And
and it's-
today they still do that.
and it's important
with the
for
people
you
from Yoruba.
Right,
to
yes.
call them by these African names, because in actuality, I really believe that these curators, I'm not talking about the folks here, right? I'm talking about the curators that started this thing of calling everything by Greek names. Even though they can read the Meta-Netter,
Right.
they study it for
We're not
many
the only
years.
ones that can read it.
No.
They know it. They know,
They'll
but they don't
even
use
read
it.
everything that you're seeing and then put in a Greek name.
Yeah.
When they know that that's not what that name says. But in some ways, I believe what they're doing is they're taking dominion over your ancestors.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it's important for you to use these
Yeah.
names.
That's
So this is a life-size statue
Yes.
of Tutankhamun with his left foot forward. The left is the side of the heart. So that's why even in the military you say left, left. Nobody goes right, right. I remember when I was small, if I was acting up, my grandmother would say, boy, go back and get off on the left side. You got off on the wrong foot today. The left foot is the side of the heart, getting off on the right foot. So initiates, watch this here. Some initiates, not only do you have to start every day off with your left foot, when you approach the steps, you step with the left foot first. You step off the curb, left foot. Now, you might say, well, come on, Mfundishi, that's just superstition. No, you know what you're doing? You're programming your brain that I'm in charge. I'm in control of who I am. I'm in control. Most people that you see are on automatic pilot. Whatever foot get there, that's what happens. And your life is like that. Whatever happens, it happens. But when you take control of your life, I put my left foot forward on my journey. Now that means that I'm the captain of my ship. I'm conscious. So that's what that initiation is about. I've taken control of my consciousness. Let me say this. You see with your consciousness, not with your eyes.
Nope. Nope.
Me and you look at the same thing and we see 2 different things. Okay, because you see with this. And when your consciousness changes, everything else changes.
Right. Right.
Mfundishi, the apron.
The apron. You see the son of Ra? So he's wearing the apron. So your people in the Masonic order,
Yep.
they're imitating this.
Yep. Yep.
They're imitating this. This is the grant. You see the rays, you see the sun disc, you see the cobras protecting Ra, the energy. That means that this person is endowed with the light.
That's right.
Endowed with the light of truth, justice, righteous, harmonious balance. So the Masonic people are just getting a slice.
Yep.
33 degrees is a little slice.
Yep.
We got 360.
Yep.
We got 360.
Yep.
And there's one like this, tall black like this, with him standing erect on top of a panther.
Yes.
A black panther. And
Right.
so that when you look in the earlier period with Nama palette, you'll find 2 black panthers. People always thought that they were giraffes with the long neck, but the long neck was just to make a circle to put the ritual powders in it. But it was not giraffe. If you look carefully, it has
Right.
canine teeth.
That's right.
And it
Well,
has
feline
paws.
Yeah.
Canine paws.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's standing on. So when we think about the Black Panthers today, we need to think Norma Palette and also King Tutankhamun.
Yeah.
And that Amen is the same Amen
Don't you say that.
represents God's supreme that I spoke about earlier today. That God supreme that you find in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 14, where Jesus says, I am the Amen.
Yes.
And so that's the same Amen as Tutankhamun, meaning Tut, the vision, the appearance of Tutankh life in Amen. And it's the same in Hatshepsut, Amen, when she got to the realization of the God force deeply within her. So that Amenhotep, all of those kinds of names are related to that particular statue you see of Tutankhamun riding the Black Panther, the links between African American culture that did not die but reemerged.
So again, you're going to see the left foot always forward, taking count. The golden mask, this is a replica of the golden mask. If you see this in Egypt today, it's in the Cairo Museum, it looks like it was made yesterday.
Yes.
Gold doesn't tarnish, so that's why they said this was they used gold as the skin of the Nesharu. Now, we didn't give you the names of the kings. No name, wasn't king, wasn't pharaoh. They called himself the Nswt Biti, or the Nswt Biti means ruler of upper and lower Kemet, and his other name was Sa-Ra, the son of the sun, the S-O-N of the S-U-N, and the woman would be Sat-Ra.
Yep.
So now there's a name that European Jews use called Sarah. My sister's name is Sarah. That's actually a man's name. Sarah means the son of Ra. It should be Sat-Ra. So it means that probably some of those early Hebrews never was really in Kemet. They were trying to, use that energy. So just like Moses isn't nobody's name, Moses means born of something. Born of what?
Yes.
Jhutyms, one born of the image of Jehuti. So
Amos.
Moses is an incomplete. Eamos, right?
Eamos, born of the moon.
Born of the moon.
Yeah.
So there's nobody in Kemet with a name like Moses. That's part Kemet. So I just wanted to just lead y'all in it so y'all know you're getting half truths. So that golden mask that you see, now I'm gonna let y'all in on one more secret. We giving y'all some real gems here today. The cobra, if you was to look at my back, you would see an arrow at the base of my spine, and it's made from cobra snake venom. I had injured my back. I went to the high priest in Mexico, and they performed a ceremony where they put cobra venom in my skin. 3 days, me and my daughter both went. And the pain went away. I climbed a 12,000 foot mountain the next day, and pain hasn't come back. So now what I want to say this cobra not just only represents the south versus the north, because they told you it only representing the south versus north. No, the vulture has the strongest stomach of any creature on the planet. It can digest carcass that has maggots and worms in it, and he doesn't get sick. His digestives can devour it and turn it into nutrition. You know, the female cobra, the name for the vulture is Mut, for mother. If there's no food, the cobra will eat his own foot off,
pick his leg,
and feed it to her children.
That's right.
Now I know Dad might be saying, "Okay, that's a little deep," But Mom, so that's why the word "mut" for mother. Right. There are some vultures that can spread their wings and be impregnated by shu, the air. It vibrates on it and causes an orgasm, and it can become pregnant without a male. Wow. So this amazing bird. But I'm going back to the digestive system. So its blood no disease that we know of today can withstand that. So this king has had the cobra venom, and he's had the blood of the cobra. Of the vulture. And so that means he's free of disease, carcass, maggots, all of that. So these are healing mechanisms as well as distinguishing upper and lower Kemet. So these are layers that you would have to be initiated. Since y'all a special group, we just give it to you.
He giving you a lot of stuff, y'all. People usually get that after they get off the plane or in Cairo.
Really
That's when they get
initiated
over it.
to know that a mother would eat up.
Can we talk about this one quick
Give it
second?
to a kid.
Oh, yeah, usually the Nswt.
It's usually open, but it's not. I just want to quickly mention to you that this golden box, the replication is not that great. But the original is fascinating because it has images of King Tutankhamun and his wife, Atenamun. Let me give her final name. Right? And so when you see the two of them together, they were trying desperately to bear an heir, a child. They were not successful. They have two stillborn children that got full burial rights. But during this time, many of the images that include them show them preparing to bear an heir. So you're going to see sacred sexual imagery all over this box. You're going to see her anointing her husband. You're going to see him hunting. It's really bizarre. He's hunting in the rushes right by the river with a bow and arrow, about to actually strike a bird. She's telling him where to shoot in the bush. The word to shoot with a bow, seti, is the same word for to ejaculate. And when you look above his arm, you'd figure, well, he's hunting. This is death, right? Above his arm it says Diank. He's giving life. And then the bow is around his head.
So if he lets it go, he's gonna use his
you
head.
let it go, it's going to hit his own head. This has nothing to do
Symbolism.
about hunting.
Symbolism.
It's about their divine copulation. Your African ancestors did not see sexual congress as a dirty thing. They did not see their body parts, even the reproductive ones, as dirty things. In fact, they go as far as to say that Ast heals with the blood from her menses. There is nothing dirty about your body. And these sacred themes, 9 of them in total on this whole box, all are about them bearing the heir. Really, really important piece that almost no one knows, even when they look at it in Cairo.
This replica would have been supposed to be ebony wood and ivory.
Yep.
But this is before Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder. Okay, ebony and ivory, okay. And some of these look like you say, well, that looks like it's for a child. But some of them was for a tribe. The sand people, the koi, the short people, derogatory, they call pygmies, or whatever, the very. So there was no court complete in ancient Kemet without the tribe there. They represent the dance of the gods. And Bes would be represented. Bes is the musician, the dancer, the protector of children, protector of women and childbearing. So there's this affection between ancient Kemet and the Africans all the way going to South Africa.
That's right.
In fact, in the first golden age, the young prince is going on a hunt for a tribe.
That's right.
And he tells him, you better not touch one piece of his hair. Should be out of place. I want you
Don't
to
let him drown in the river.
Right.
Hold him by his arm so when he goes to drink, he doesn't fall in.
So there's affection, but the Egyptologists will never show you
Never.
this love between Africa and the interior of Africa. But there's this relationship.
That's
this
right.
Beautiful
That's
relationship.
right. That's right. It's believed they're the original people. So and so that's what that.
The first Haru is Haru Bes.
Yes.
Okay, so showing you that the Anu people, they sometimes call the Anu.
That's right.
They're the people that populated the rest of the continents
That's right.
around the world.
Oldest people in the world.
Japan,
There was even
China.
a study that came out 2 months ago that says that their language is the oldest human language on the world.
They have more sounds than
more
anybody else. With
phonemes
the
than
clicks, they have
any
the
other
Greek
language on the earth. That would mean it would be, yes, that's the click language. It would be the hardest language to learn because it has that many different sounds, but it's the oldest of all human languages. And they did that with a computer algorithm. They took all the languages and the computer pointed to South Central Africa. Fascinating.
Jabari and Mfundishi, just quickly, talk about the relationship between the Khoisan, the Ainu, and the Twa, or are we talking about all the same people?
We might be talking about the same people.
Yeah.
Now, Khoisan
the
is...
Anu, the Twa, and
Yes.
those are just
These are the
different
Khoisan
places.
people.
The same
Now, keep in
people.
mind, the Khoi and the San are really two different people. If they hear us call them Khoisan, they'll be like, I'm not a Khoi.
That's like the Maasai and
Yes.
the...
Yes.
Who are the other people in Kenya? The Maasai and the Samburu. When you look at the Samburu people in the Maasai, they look the same, but you better not get confused.
Yeah.
They consider it was like a Star Trek I saw one time where the guy was white on this side and black on this side, and the other people were black on this side and white, and they were arch enemies.
Fighting to the death.
You know, and other people looking sort of silly.
But the Khoisan people are the oldest humans, the first humans that actually populated Africa. For a very long time, to be a human was to be an African.
And there
was nobody else.
And they had several names: the Song,
Yes.
the Twa,
Yes.
Mbuti,
Yes.
the Kum, Batwa, and Botswana, derived from the Batwa.
Wow.
And Anu that went
And when you think when you hear these European stories about dwarves, this is an echo of your story, because we now know, what did they do? They smelted iron. The first people on the planet. So when you hear the dwarves and they're smelting iron, even if you've watched The Hobbit and all of those stories from Tolkien, these are echoes of ancient African stories that have gone into Europe.
How many people here have the leprechaun and the Irish? Those small little guys, those are the Twa people.
An echo of an African story.
With gold. Ain't no gold there.
An echo, yes.
And they're trying to kill them and take their gold.
Yes.
And y'all running around drinking beer, celebrating.
Listen, man.
Okay.
No. And also from them is another kind of species called the Memotia. And the Memotia are the ones that could disappear and come back. And they had a lot of other very, very unusual qualities. I was telling you about the Nana whose rings Leonard are wearing, etc. Nana Afuasa was raised by them. She was a little girl. They kidnapped her, raised her in the forest. And she learned all of the things about healing and all how to communicate by telepathy. And also whistling. That's why the custom in the South was for little girls to never whistle around the house, and was because you'd be inviting the spiritual elements from the forest to come and kidnap you. And so, but the kidnapping was good because once they released her back, she had a whole little town, a village named after her with a healing clinic that people would come from all over to be healed. Some of these things I wrote about a number of years ago, and I think in ASCAC gave out all of that writing, but I didn't want to publish it because I didn't want to be known first for putting out books dealing with things that were so unusual. But the stuff I had actually had a photograph of one in the writings with a 2.5 feet high human being with a big old afro, dark skin. Photograph of it.
Her son-in-law was named Menace, a brilliant African, trained in Ghana and in Europe. And when he passed,
in nuclear medicine.
When he had a funeral in New York, they had a fellow come in from the world. He said, now, as we are celebrating his life, his papers are being read in Tokyo by the leading scholars. And so she just cleared the way. When the great stool of the Ashanti comes, it doesn't go anywhere without her fly whisk. She has to be there to remove the evil spirits. And that's why I'm still here. You don't think I got here because of my good looks?
Now, all of this is secret society stuff.
Yeah, we didn't talk about their healing ability. I stayed among the Twa in Uganda at Mount Wanzori for 30 days. The most peaceful people you ever. The king looks just like everybody else. He doesn't dress different from anybody else. He's the last person to eat, not the first. He doesn't get props. The king makes sure that everybody in his little group eats and is taken care of, and then if there's food left, he eats. Children are never spanked. Children are like gold mines. And so they precious these little kids, okay? And they are some of the greatest herbalists that you ever wanted. Anything you want. They share everything. They share everything. Just And they laugh all day long.
Yeah.
You know, the laughter is supposed to be a gift of the gods, you know, like gift of the creator. Okay, so, and the last thing I want to say about the Twa is that also, you learn about the leprechauns. The Irish right now are putting out their own history saying that their ancestors are Africans. The red hair is a recessive gene that comes from Africans who came there with red hair and black skin and blue eyes. And so almost all of those ancient Irish, they are descendants of those Africans. So when you see all that red hair in Ireland and all that, those are descendants of African people.
I have a student in my class 2 weeks ago from Ireland, and he gave a paper talking about the ancestry of the Scots and the Irish, and that they came from, he said, Spain and Portugal. But what he was saying, Spain and Portugal, is an eyesight across into Africa, and that's the origin of these leprechauns. That's the origin of the Scottish Irish people.
This is called the Secum staff. Secum. Secum means internal power. Okay, so like in Swahili we have the moyo, your heart. In China they call it the chi. In Japanese they call it ki. In India they call it prana. It's your internal vital force. You ever see those statues where the stomach is protruding out? That's showing their power, their internal power from the breath, breathing. So this Secum staff, the Secum high priest would carry this press, carry that. Today I see Greek fraternity spank people with it, but traditionally it was a symbol of power and healing.
Should we be hurrying?
We okay?
10:30.
Yeah.
Y'all, it's like 10:30.
Y'all, listen here.
That's very soon.
Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. How many people heard that? Everybody? The rod and the staff is the heka and the nkaka. The heka is the shepherd's staff, meaning I can guide you, I can lead you, I can protect you. The nkaka is a grain thresher to separate the seed from the husk so you can have grain and eat bread and all those things. So he's saying, I can guide you, I can protect you, and I can feed you. But now, if you know anything about a nunchuck, which was used by the Chinese, was also a rice thresher.
Exactly.
So he's trying to say that I can also whip that tail.
That's right.
Okay, so I can chastise you, I can defend myself with it, but yet I can help feed you. So all the people are duplicating the rod and thy staff, but we don't know, symbolically we don't know. Symptomatically, all of it's coming from ancient Kemet.
What's up with the 9 balls?
Yeah, the original.
Not shoe. You're talking about head. Head is on the head. Head.
Eternity.
Head.
Yeah.
Captain that's head.
Yeah, that's eternity.
That's not shoe. No. He's a symbol of sacred eternity. Right from the palm. Similar to shoe. It might be on the back. We just can't see the back. No, not this piece. Head is on the back. Right. By the way, sacred sexual imagery. She's anointed in oil.
And that was originally that red jasper I talked about, the stone, the real stone. So that's what that was inlaid. All of that was inlaid with semi-precious stones. Carnelian, lapis lazuli, turquoise. All of those stones were inlaid in there. So I'm trying to show you, we are the original gemologists.
That's right.
Is that red like the red in the seat?
It's not red.
That's not true.
The original's not red, black.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you speak on the bones and how the king used to set their feet
Now,
on,
you know,
did they conquer these people?
really quickly, in ancient Kemet, the Kemetic people philosophically said, in order for them to be the most powerful nation in the land, they had to be more powerful than people of 9 people in the region, right? It's a large group of people. The only people that Western historians ever tell you about are the people that they like to call the Nubians. When in actuality, it's probably only one group of people that we might call Nubians. They had collaboration with some, disagreements with others. We're talking about 3,000 years. They weren't always at war, but that's the way that Western historians will try to tell you that the Kemetic people couldn't have been African because they were fighting other Africans. Now you know people of the same ethnicities
Is Russia
never
fighting
have
against
fights,
somebody who
right?
looks like
They
them?
never have battles.
So Europeans can fight Europeans, but Africans can't fight.
But those are the people of the 9 bows. Is what it's called. Sometimes you'll see people. Often you'll just see the 9 bows, and it's a reference to their dominance over folks.
Look at this. Look at the feet of this chair. You see the lion's feet. When Napoleon came, they duplicated this. They took it back to France. And today, when you see this type of feet, that's called French furniture. French furniture. They but they got the lion's feet at the bottom of the. So when you go into expensive